Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. The would-be judges, the 144,000, and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen nations that look like those heathen nations. This is not a black thing. And to the few akwaf that are listening and learning, to you, I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm, coming at you with a quick lesson. It's actually more of an intro to a couple lessons that I'm going to do. I've been sitting on this book for a while. I have Ancient and Modern Britons, and I intend to go into this book. And I also have a couple books that I really need to just stop bullcrapping. Today, in Shabbat Shalom, I'm actually going to, I have the Jacobite Ireland, okay, from 1685 to 1691, all right, and basically, I'm going to provide receipts right about now that proves that the Black Irish was really the Black Irish, just like they were the Black Scots, and they were also the Black Vikings. How many times, I don't know how many videos where I've told you that, that Esau, Edom, took over Europe. He took over, or should I just call it what it is, the portion of Asia that they now call Europe. I've already given you the receipt that Europe is a made-up social construct to fit the lives of white supremacy, which is also a made-up social construct. There is no such thing as white people. There is no such thing as black people. There are false narratives that were created by the Edomites, the so-called Caucasian race, or the so self-proclaimed white race, and they're not white at all. They're actually kind of pinkish red, described in the Bible, just how Edom is subscribed. Esau wasted away as he, his blood shows forth through his skin. He's palish, all right. He's got Edomites are what you call clean lepers. Okay, I mean it is what it is. Everyone else is brown with melanin. Everyone else is swarthy, all right, from swarthy to tawny, all right. I will be considered tawny, all right. Someone who's darker than me, 3 to 4, 5 shades darker than me. The darkest person is still brown, and that's still a swarthy person, okay. But I mentioned, now that I said it, because there's always someone new watching, so I'll just provide that receipt real quick from the Oxford Dictionary about Eurasia. In Asia is one place, always has been. They put a definition in them. They lied about it. All right, but here it is. Hold on, let's go to the evidence folder. There we go. Make it easy. It is King David, Edomites. Man, I got a lot of stuff. So Eurasian. All right. Okay. If you look at definition number 1, of or pertaining to Eurasia, Europe and Asia, considered as forming in reality, one continent. All right, Euro-Asiatic. So they added the Europe, and then they whitewashed it and teach this lie that people are light complected there because they were so far from the equator, which is a complete that pseudoscience that would fall into that false science. And we were warned in the book of Timothy. Let's go to it real quick. We were warned in the book of Timothy that there will come a time when that will be done. People would try to use pseudoscience to get around truth and real science. So, and the word science simply means to know. Just like you got, what's his name? Robert F. Kennedy has now been made, he's been put over the human health resources, humanitarian resources, or whatever you call it. And he's definitely going to be going after the people who were pushing the jump shot, who were pushing the Band-Aid, the vaccines. All right, he's going after them. All right, and he was one of the biggest advocates against them. That's why they don't want Trump in there. All right, it's going to stir up a lot of devilment and a lot of niggatry that was done by the powers that be. Is in trouble, man. And these people are divided. But anyway, this is 1 Timothy 6:20, and it reads, "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called." All right, so you've got a lot of fraudulent science out there, and then you get labeled, a conspiracy theorist, or you get hit with the charge of putting out false information when you expose this questionable science that that some people or some entities have been using. And now that's all coming to with all the deaths and the sudden deaths and the myocarditis and the deformities and all the issues that are happening. There's plenty of evidence to trace it back to what. And it just seems that the fix was more dangerous than the problem. But we don't want to make it about that. This is about them whitewashing history and taking Asia and dividing it up, calling Western Asia Europe and then the Middle East, which is also Western Asia. It's all one continent. Just provided the receipt, so shut up. All right. So I'm gonna play a quick video. And I'm going to go into that history, and some of that history is found in the book that I just showed you with David McRitchie, Ancient and Modern Britons. Also, he's going to talk about the book, a description of Scotland, in the 1500s or something to the effect. I know that I had that book. I don't know if I still have it. I'm going to search for it, which is the only reason I'm not going into it right now. I may have borrowed that book to Nagab. I may have gave it to him. But I know that I've had this book that I'm about to share with you in my possession. And I'm kind of angry at myself that I didn't go further into it and find this information. But nevertheless, I'm going to try and get that book back just so I can do the lesson. If it is him, if that I gave it to, it's gonna be either he or Karab. But let's go find that video, and here we are. Receipts. And why is the sound not there? Okay, so let's do this again.
Am I the only one that didn't know about the rich black history of Scotland's Western Isles? Buckle up. Black history of Scotland concerns various stories around Kenneth. King Kenneth was also known as Kenneth the Niger or Kenneth Duff, a surname which means the
Let's
black
stop
man.
right there. We know that Niger.
It's a matter of history that many
Hold on. We can go back to it before he goes any further. We know that Niger. Why would a man in Scotland be called a French word? Because that's what you're looking at. This is an image of France, a bridge in France. A Niger, okay? Or Niger, And either way you look at it, this word simply means black. Whether you pronounce it Niger, whether you pronounce it Niger, whether you pronounce it nigger. And actually in the Bible, it's pronounced nigger, all right? And nigger, phonetically spelled in the dictionary, is Niger. All right. And the actual spelling, the phonetic spelling is Niger. All right. And that's the phonetic spelling to the word Nigger. All right. So now that I said it, let's share the. Let me share the receipt, and then we'll play that video again. All right, because it's important. That's an important word to break down. So That may not be in my receipts, but I do have the book on the shelf behind me. But you know what? I'm going to screenshot it and put it in my... Oh, I do have it. There we go. I know I was smarter than that. So that's definitely in my receipts. Because, you know, you can't take... So you can screenshot it if you don't have it. But you can see that nigger is spelled N-I-G-E-R, Niger or Niger. All right. So just like in Acts 13:1, when the disciples were called nigger, and it simply means black, or it's, you know, dark skin, not black. It means dark skin, as you see in the definition there. All right. It says a Negro, now usually a contemptuous or vulgar term. All right. Any dark-skinned person prevailing from the American Negroes. You see that? So because Africans were never called Negroes. All right. Never called Negroes. There was a difference and a separation. Okay. And they're very well aware that the Negroes that left, that were scattered into Western Africa and Northern Africa were Israelites. So we're gonna play this video again about King Kenneth, Kenneth the Niger, Kenneth the nigger, Kenneth the Dub, which simply means black man, like the city in Dublin in Ireland, the Jacobites. Dublin means the city of the black men or black people. All right, as simple as that. And King Kenneth was in Scotland. All right. So once again, you know, like I always tell you, and they're going to talk about the Black Vikings as well. Okay. You white people, you were not the Spartans. All right. You were not the Scots. You are not the actual Irish. All right. You're not the actual English. You're none of that. You're the Edomites that came after the fact. All right. They're even going to show you in this video coats of arms of the heads of Moors and Scots, Irish, Vikings that have been slain. Because you have to remember, when you learn history, the Black Plague came and it basically took out and made so-called black people. All right. The swarthy people of Europe that took over Europe after the fall of Rome, hence the movie that's about to come out with Denzel Washington. All right. The Second Gladiator. All right. And so when you have to understand that slavery, when it says in Joel, will you recompense me? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, came so viciously and mercilessly against the Israelites for bringing down their precious, wicked Rome. And Rome was the most wicked. It was a very wicked alphabet style, pedo style, bestiality style nation. All right, which expanded all across Asia, because in the Bible, when it talks about being in Spain and Rome, you're in Asia. So that Europe thing didn't come until Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, took over. That's when that word started being used. All right, I've yet to find any books, you know, that go back to the Dark Ages or earlier, where they're referring to Asia, they're referring to Spain, Portugal, or France, any of those places as Europe. All right, that's a much later time. Okay, those areas. All right. So without any further ado, we'll play this video uninterrupted, and then I'm gonna read a couple scriptures, and then I'm gonna get into this book tonight. Just read something about Elton John is trying to starve himself to death. All right, guess he don't want to be here for what's about to happen. All right, so let's get the sound back.
Am I the only one that didn't know about the rich black history of Scotland's Western Isles? Buckle up. Black history of Scotland concerns various stories around Kenneth. King Kenneth was also known as Kenneth the Niger or Kenneth Duff, a surname which means the black man. It is a matter of history that many seafaring warriors were North African, travelled via Iberia into Europe and joined in many cultures and held power and position. Niger Val Duf lived and reigned over certain black divisions in Scotland, and some histories state that a race known as the Sons of the Blacks succeeded him. For example, C.J.A. Rogers' Saxon race. Back in 1719, Martin described the inhabitants as generally brown and some of black complexion. A description of the western islands of Scotland contains a full account on page 4. Martin also states on page 224. The inhabitants of this isle are well proportioned, generally brown and some of black complexion. They enjoy a good state of health and have a genius for all callings. On page 239 he follows. The natives here are very well proportioned, being generally black of complexion and free from bodily imperfections.
You see the white hand killing the black man with his head on the knife?
As other islanders. The folklorist David McRitchie took a strong interest in the ethnicity of the Scottish outlaw Morrow or Murray because of his dark black skin. McRitchie's Ancient and Modern Britons reference Black Morrow, the name given to late 15th century Scottish outlaw. A Kirkcudbrightshire ballad and recorded oral tradition describes the Scottish Moor or Irish Moor as a bandit living in Ettrick Forest. In the tradition, the outlaw Black Morrow is described as a Moor and Saracen. In modern day, the clan MacLellan, a clan of the Scottish lowlands, display a naked arm supporting on the point of a sword a Moor's head. Next, we turn to chapter 7 of our darker forefathers in the book.
Wow, he said a lot. So, here we go.
By Thomas William Shaw, an English geologist and antiquarian. Shaw states, in the Irish annals, the Black Vikings are called Dub Genti, or Black Gentiles. These Black Gentiles fought against other plunderers of the Irish coasts, known as the Fair Gentiles, who can hardly have been others than the Fair Danes or Northmen. In 851, Black Gentiles came to Athcliat, that is, Dublin. In 852, 8 ships of the Finn Genti arrived and fought against the Dub Genti for 3 days and were victorious. Black Vikings appear had a settlement in or close to Dublin. In 877, a great battle was fought at Loch Cuan between them and the Fair Gentiles, in which Alban, chief of the Black Gentiles, fell.
So if you notice,
will have been a chieftain of the
so as you can see, he mentioned the book, the origins of the Anglo-Saxons, 1906. All right, and then he started saying the Fair Danes and the Fair Vikings, but then he's talking about the Black Vikings and it's what happens is that white people, so-called, replaced so-called black people. That's the truth of the matter. How's this gonna change my background on me? That's some bullshit. I had it had the French bridge, and then it just changed on me. But nevertheless, and then he also mentioned the Saracens. All right, the Saracens, if I remember correctly, I just read something about it. They were in the area that was near Turkey, west kind of maybe northwest of Turkey in Western Asia. All right, and the Saracens were so-called black people. But see, all that is left out of your television shows, your movie, your series. All right, they don't show you that at all. And then you notice he wasn't calling them. He did call Kenneth that he was from an African, but he wasn't calling them Africans. He was saying Black Gentiles. And the fact of the matter is that the people in Europe were swarthy people. The actual Europeans, Etruscans, the Minoans, the Picts, those were all men of color, women of color. All right. But not so-called Negroes. Neither were they Africans. They were Japhetic. All right. Japhet was not, the so-called white man that some people will erroneously state. That's completely not true. The artifacts of Japhet you can find. And then when you use biblical prophecy, There's no prophecy there's no prophecies that states that that Japhet would do to Jacob what was done to Jacob. That will be done by Esau. All right. And the prophecy, and the number one prophecy, is that the Lord, Isaiah the 63rd chapter, the Lord returns to a world that's ruled over by Esau, Edom. So let's go to Psalms, and we'll wrap this video up because this is an introduction to a Lord's will, a series of maybe 3 or 4 videos on this subject matter, because these books are pretty thick. So I'm gonna dig into them, and start matching scripture up and names, places, and faces, to dot the T, to dot the I's and cross the T's, and give all the proper receipts, so that there's no argument, there is no debating, no resisting the truth. For the Lord will give us a mouth, and wisdom that none of our adversaries can gainsay nor resist. All right, and that happens a lot with GMS when people are scoffing and talking shit. It's it can't be over the information, that's for sure. But Jake, man, because most people that talk trash is Jake. All right, because I got a bunch of scoffers on my last couple videos that was not scoffing information, just basically scoffing me. Instead of being rejoicing in the information coming out, proving what we're saying is true, and uplifting our people, they want to do personal attacks. But it's all good. They hated the Lord, so they gonna hate us too. Is the servant greater than the master? Not at all. This is Psalms 83 and 1. All right, and it reads. I'll start at verse 2. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, so-called white people. The Ishmaelites, the sons of Ishmael, all right? So-called, some of the Arabs, all right? Of Moab, that will be your Chinese today. The Hagarenes, more Ishmaelites, sons of Hagar. Gabal, more Ishmaelites. And Ammon, all right? Ammon, that will be the Japanese. And Amalek, those are the people in the Holy Land right now, right? The Philistines, those were actually the real Palestinians. Real Philistines were Africans, Hamites. They got driven out of that land. All right. They got driven out mainly during the time of Alexander when he conquered. Right. And so Ishmael has pretty much replaced them, and the inhabitants of Tyre also as so-called Africans, Hamites. All right. Assur also is joined unto them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. So all these nations hid and covered up the history of the Israelites. And I'm going to play one more short video just to solidify that point.
We have to catch this. Of the Mecklen.
And it's really fast too, but you just got to listen to them.
History get lost. And of course the answer was it wasn't lost, it was intentionally ignored. It was intentionally dropped. We didn't want you to know that there was this thriving civilization that put lamps up that were powered by petroleum 1,000 years ago, and were doing cataract surgery 1,000 years ago, while Europeans were living in little towns like Paris, where the streets were literally their sewage system. Right? And they would just throw the fecal matter and urine out the window, and it would flow in the rain into the wells, which is why they couldn't drink their water, because you just die of cholera and dysentery instantaneously if you did.
Wow.
Which meant that during that time period, Europeans could only drink beer and wine, and so they were constantly drunk. But it's okay, they smelled like fecal matter and urine, so it was a way to compensate, I think. That, and they had to wear wool, so they were always walking around itching. And so you smelled like poop and piss, and you're itching. So you might as well be drunk.
Yeah, so like you said, this history wasn't left out. It was intentionally hid. It was intentionally hidden. It was intentionally left out. All right, to elevate white superiority. Which is all a made up thing. There's no such thing as white, and they're definitely not superior. All right, like I said, you know, the so-called Negroes had lights in their streets in their cities. All right, 1,000 years ago. All right, some of the so-called Mexicans, the Inca, not the but the was it the Mayan Empire, reached all the way up into America. All right, and as big as they were, they had as big as the city was, they had aqueducts and running water and clean streets, no poop in them. All right, so there's a history that was covered up by the so-called white man as he proclaims that he came and brought you Christianity and civilized you, when the fact that what he did was he brought you oppression. He brought you colonization, rape, rob, and murder, took your resources and set himself on top, set himself up to be the judges, set himself up to be, the judges of the earth. And that's why the scriptures say when the righteous is in rulership, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in control, the people mourn, roughly paraphrase. So I'll get just one last scripture here. Just popped in my head as I said that. And that's Daniel 4 and I think 17 or 18. Yeah, Daniel 4 and 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of man and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. So he took the lowest piece of piss and shit, fecal matter on their body, wool wearing Edomites. That he was talking about how their streets were their sewage in France. And they, and the computer decided to, get rid of my, guess they didn't like me talking about France, about Esau. But there it is. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kodash, Kwam, Yasharala, Abba, Babal.